What's up, you guys? Adam here with Anabolic Climbing. And today we're going to do a quick follow-up to the short that I made a couple weeks ago where I was talking about BPC 157. So, if you're new here, relax, grab yourself a tasty beverage, sit back, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and let's hop into my BPC 157 experiment. So, the mad scientist from rock climbing is back again, and as you guys remember, my fingers, my ring fingers in particular, were pretty darn swollen from my block pulls. So I opted to take 500 milligrams of BPC 157 once per day in alternating forearms for about 2 weeks. So that's about 5 grams of BPC 157 all in. And let's talk about my dosing, my rehab protocol, what it felt like in the gym and off the wall, what my metrics were for success, and if I think it was helpful or not. So, tenosynovitis is expressed as swelling in the fingers, and it hurts when you begin to pull on any of on the specific fingers, particularly the middle of the finger itself. But it's not actually a finger injury. It's actually swelling that's built further on down the chain. And in my case, it tends to happen when I'm doing max load block pulls where this finger tends to hyperextend. So because I'm doing it on a flat plane, as you guys are going to see here, the ring finger tends to hyperextend because that's where the load is the most for that, or for me. If I were using a more ergonomic fingerboard, that would probably help me out. It doesn't really affect me as much on the wall or when I'm doing low weighted hangs, but when I'm doing it, it's definitely something that I find not on my working loads, but certainly on my maxes, which I tend to do every 6 weeks. I will probably stop doing max hangs or max pulls for strength tests eventually, but while we're continuing to benchmark my changes in strength, it just makes sense. But let's get to the rub, right? Usually, the kind of healing for this tends to go for about 6 weeks. So I had some BPC 157 that I was saving for a rainy day, and I thought, well, if any time was the time, it'd probably be now. So I started doing it about 2 weeks ago, and here's the thing. This was not a perfect rehab protocol by any stretch. I spent 3 days in Portland for my buddy's wedding. I have been moving this entire week. My head has not been in the game for rehab exercises. My gym performance is down because when you're moving, it's stressful, man. I've had loan stuff to take care of. I've been putting my life in boxes, just running all the errands that are associated with canceling bills, this, that, and the other. And it hasn't been perfect. So I would expect the healing on my fingers to be mediocre at best. And even though I probably missed, 4 or 5 doses, essentially, fingers feel good. On the wall, I have not noticed it whatsoever, which is kind of indicative of how I get when I get warmed up. But usually my metric for do things hurt is when I'm pressing my fingers like this, is there some pain in here from the hyperextending? And it's still slightly tender, but it is dramatically better than it was 2 weeks ago. So is it to the point where I'm completely pain-free? No, but I'm probably, if before the pain was at like a 5-ish out of 10, now we're down to about a 1, and that's after about 2 weeks versus being pain-free usually for me around week 4, week 5. So that's super promising, and I, for a pretty half-assed attempt, I feel like I've definitely gotten some pretty positive results. So, am I willing to say that that is a thing that you guys should go out and do for your tenosynovitis? If you are pretty sure you're cancer-free and you are experiencing some finger pain, I think it's definitely a thing that you can do. You can obviously go the oral route. You can also go the injectable. Would it be helpful to inject in your fingers? Maybe. But I'll be honest, I am utterly terrified about injecting into my fingers. So that is definitely not going to happen. But in the event that that is a thing that you guys want to give a shot to, it's definitely a thing that you can. And if you do end up pinning your fingers, for the love of God, please put that in the comments. I would be utterly fascinated by that. So BPC 157, definitely a thumbs up for me on recent injuries. That was to be expected when I tried it with my bicep before. It's a 5-year injury, man. It's probably not going to repair the tendon. It'd be like that. But I haven't torn it off the bone. So let's talk about BPC 157 and upcoming potential things that we can do. Could you potentially run BPC 157 year-round to promote collagen synthesis? I have heard of people attempting to do this. I have not considered it. It's definitely a possibility. This is a thing I might try down the road. As I mentioned yesterday, I've been off Masteron for a little bit, and I definitely am feeling it in my endurance. And when it comes to my next strength block in a couple of weeks, I'm on the fence about what I do next, because I don't think it's just going to be straight TRT. BPC 157 is in the running. I've heard of folks stacking that with GHK copper, and yeah, that's definitely a thing that... Actually, they blend it. They have blends where it's BPC 157, GHK copper, and TB 500, which honestly feels kind of broken for climbers. I'll definitely reach out and see if I can get a partnership for that. I don't think I'm big enough, but it would be really cool to have them help fund some of that research. But of the next potential strength stacks, we're either looking at Primo, we're looking at BPC 157, or the Glow Blend, or I'm not ready to hop on a 19 Nor yet. But you're probably chomping at the bit to find out more about the 19 Nors, and that's super justified. To be honest, I am. Even though I have sort of my hesitancy around the anxiety and the mental side effects, along with the sexual side effects of the 19 Nors, I think good research is worth doing. So I'll meet you halfway. While my next strength cycle will probably be Primo or BPC, upcoming deep dives are going to go on both of the 19 Nors in Trenbolone and Nandrolone. So, expect a 20 to 30 minute deep dive on that for collagen synthesis and not just anabolism, going into potential cycle design for both, and yeah, that should be fun. Unfortunately, it's going to take a little bit of time. I'm probably not going to have internet at my new place until like the 11th, which is completely screwed. But I will see what I could do about recording videos and finding ways to upload them anyway, because I'm not willing to go 2 weeks without content, or at least 2 weeks with like just climbing footage. That's stupid. Really quick. In my opinion, my climbing footage is like the least interesting thing about what I'm doing. Like most of, like, look, real talk. Rainbow Rocket is a dream. That's obviously the thing that I'm training for. I'm super psyched. Sharing my training footage is like part and parcel for that. And most of my climbing related footage is really just like on the back to prove the theory that like steroids and climbing are helpful and useful. But like, dude, anyone can climb V6. Like, you can find other climbers that are way stronger than me. This is just me sort of showing my work. So I'm going to make sure that there's more science-based content, or at least compound and pharmacology-based content that we can go over between the next 2 weeks, because I don't want to do that kind of a drought. That's stupid. Anyway, if you made it this far, I super appreciate you. We are knocking on 100 subscribers door, and that's freaking sweet. I've really appreciated all of the feedback, all of the support, you guys asking questions and checking in. It genuinely means the world to me. I know our community is pretty small so far, but everyone is really curious, really encouraging, really supportive. And, you know, I appreciate that. That's very much sort of the atmosphere I'm trying to bring here, and very much the soul of the channel that I want to keep as we continue to grow. You know, I want people to be able to send their projects. I want people to stay healthy. I want folks to be able to heal as quickly as possible from injuries. And if the rest of the community isn't ready to embark down some of this research, that's cool. But for us, I want this to be a safe place where we can have these kinds of discussions and get more into the nuances of what pharmacology can bring to rock climbing. Anyway, that's everything so far. BPC 157 seemed to be a success. Appreciate you guys listening to me ramble on the remainder of like the life check-in elsewhere. But as always, I am Adam with Anabolic Climbing, rock climbing's favorite mad scientist. Gonna give you a front double on the way out. Happy sending, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.